You are about to see proof that your quantum shift is already unraveling the toxic patterns that once felt unbreakable. And if you stay until the final chapter, I'll give you a powerful technique to realign your frequency and dissolve toxic cycles once and for all. The reason you're here is not coincidence. Out of millions of possible videos, this one reached you now, at this exact moment. That alone is evidence from the quantum field. Life has organized itself to bring you here because part of you has already signaled readiness to release what no longer serves. The universe doesn't waste energy on accidents. Synchronicities are the reflections of alignment, and this moment, right now, is your sign. Think about it. How many times have you scrolled past countless distractions? Yet, this stayed. It caught your attention. That is not trivial. That is resonance. The field mirrors your vibration, and by arriving here, you've created the proof that you are already different than before. You are standing at the edge of a shift, no longer trapped in cycles that once convinced you they were permanent. If a video can appear exactly when you need it, what else is already lining up for you? What other signals are waiting for your awareness? Quantum reality works by reflection. When you carry a frequency, the world doesn't argue with you. It simply shows you mirrors. Toxic patterns feel inescapable because they recycle old signals over and over. But the moment you change your vibration, those mirrors begin to break. You start seeing cracks in the old walls, new openings where none seemed possible. This video is one of those cracks. It's not content, it's confirmation. Some part of you has already begun choosing a different frequency. That's why this message resonates like something you already knew but forgot. It's a remembering. You can sense it in your body, maybe in the quiet rise of hope, maybe in the subtle shift of recognition. The truth is, the cycle was never stronger than you. It only reflected the energy you carried. And now, with awareness here and resonance stirring, you're no longer a prisoner of it. This isn't about chance, and it isn't about luck. This is about alignment. You wouldn't be here if the shift wasn't already alive in you. The video is not pushing you, it's mirroring you. You've already sent out the signal to the quantum field. I am ready to break free. And the field has responded by guiding you here to hear these words at this exact time. That's the evidence. That's the proof. And so, as you listen, remember this. The shift isn't beginning at the end of the video. It already began the moment this appeared in your path. The technique I'll share at the end is only to anchor what's already happening. You are not waiting for change. You are living it. The toxic cycle has already started unraveling, and this is the confirmation you needed to see it. Beliefs are not just thoughts. They are vibrational codes that tune the field around you. Every belief carries a frequency, and that frequency broadcasts a signal into the quantum web of possibility. When you hold a belief like, "I'm not enough," "I always fail," or "love never lasts," you are sending a steady transmission that attracts matching circumstances, people, and inner responses. Those repeated returns are what we call toxic patterns, not mystical curses, but the predictable echoes of the frequency you've been broadcasting. Imagine your inner world as an instrument. When that instrument is tuned to scarcity or fear, everything you play will sound like scarcity and fear. Change the tuning, and the entire song changes. That's the real power of belief work. It's less about forcing new outcomes and more about retuning your instrument so it naturally attracts different notes. The core assumptions you carry are the anchor points for your vibration. They make certain timelines feel familiar and others feel unreachable. So how do you shift a core assumption? First, notice the story that keeps rerunning. Listen to your language. What are the sentences you default to when things go off plan? Those sentences are the scaffolding of belief. Ask yourself, where did this come from? Who taught me this? Most limiting beliefs began as explanations that once protected you. They were survival shortcuts. Understanding that origin reduces their authority. You don't need to fight them with willpower alone. You need to question their relevance now. Next, test them like a scientist. Instead of arguing in the abstract, create small, safe experiments that contradict the belief. If you believe people don't show up for you, plan a low-risk outreach and notice the data. If you believe you'll fail, try a tiny task with a clear, measurable outcome. Evidence changes vibration faster than logic. Each small, disconfirming experience loosens the old code and weakens its broadcast. Then choose a replacement belief that feels believable and slightly aspirational. Not a fantasy you'll reject in a minute, but a next step identity. I am learning to receive, or I am capable of small wins that grow. Repeat it in moments of calm. Attach it to feeling. Imagine the corresponding sensation, and act accordingly. Behavior is the amplifier. When your actions match the new belief, your body and the field accept the new signal. Finally, be patient and ruthless with consistency. Beliefs are reinforced by repetition. The toxicity lasted because those old codes were repeated for years. Your new frequency will stabilize through steady, daily practice, noticing, testing, choosing, acting, and feeling. Over time, the field responds, circumstances shift, mirrors break, and the pattern that once defined you loses its hold. Change the code, and the pattern falls away. Your emotions transmit frequency far more strongly than your words or thoughts ever could. You may tell yourself a new story in your mind, but if your emotional body is vibrating with fear, anger, or unworthiness, the field responds to the vibration, not the narrative. This is why so many people feel stuck, even when they practice affirmations or repeat positive statements. The words may be hopeful, but the emotional signal is still anchored to the old cycle. Imagine telling yourself, "I am abundant," while secretly feeling anxious about bills. The field does not judge or punish you. It simply mirrors back what is most coherent. Anxiety is the stronger frequency, so the reflection you receive will line up with lack, not abundance. This is not failure, but a signal showing you where alignment is truly needed. Once you understand that the emotional resonance sets the tone, you stop blaming yourself for not thinking positively enough and begin working at the real level of transformation. Feeling. The distinction between mental story and emotional resonance frees you. You no longer need to police every thought. You do not need to control the endless chatter of the mind. Instead, you practice shifting your emotional baseline. When your inner atmosphere is infused with calm, trust, or joy, the field organizes around those states regardless of stray thoughts. This is why one aligned moment of genuine gratitude has more manifestational power than hours of mental recitation that you don't truly feel. So how do you shift emotional resonance? First, acknowledge honestly what you feel. Denial creates distortion. If you are sad, name it. If you are angry, admit it. Emotions move when they are seen without resistance. Second, locate the bodily sensation that accompanies the emotion. Where does fear sit? Where does hope land? Breathe into those sensations until they soften. Third, generate micro moments of resonance with the state you prefer. You don't have to leap from despair to ecstasy. You can invite small waves of relief, safety, or possibility. These micro shifts are enough to start turning the field. Over time, the practice rewires your identity. Instead of living in contradiction, words saying one thing, feelings saying another, you begin to embody coherence. And coherence is the language the quantum responds to. When you feel aligned, you no longer need to push so hard with mental willpower. Life flows differently, people react differently, opportunities appear, and toxic cycles lose their grip because they no longer have a matching vibration to attach to. If you are hearing this, notice what you are feeling right now. That feeling is the magnet shaping what comes next. By choosing awareness of it, you have already begun to reclaim your power. And if this truth is resonating inside you, pause and subscribe. This space exists to help you stay aligned with emotional coherence, so you don't miss the next step of your quantum shift. Excitement is not just a pleasant feeling. It is a navigation system built into your consciousness. When you experience genuine excitement about something, no matter how small, it is the quantum field signaling that this path is aligned with your highest frequency. Toxic cycles, on the other hand, are maintained through obligation, fear, and a sense of should. They keep you circling patterns that do not expand you because the energy feeding them is contraction rather than freedom. The shift begins when you decide to take your excitement seriously as a form of guidance rather than a fleeting mood. Think about moments in your life when you followed what excited you. Perhaps it was choosing a class in school, a creative hobby, or a conversation with someone who lit you up. Those moments often led to surprising connections, synchronicities, or opportunities that unfolded beyond what you could have logically planned. That is the field rearranging itself around your chosen resonance. Excitement is a match to expansion, and expansion breaks the repetition of old cycles. It's easy to dismiss excitement as unrealistic or irresponsible, especially if you've been conditioned to prioritize survival and obligation. But following your highest excitement does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means discovering where your energy naturally flows and allowing that current to carry you forward. Even small choices count. If you feel drawn to read a particular book, make that call, or take a walk in a certain place, those micro decisions can lead to larger shifts. The quantum field responds to every degree of alignment, not only the massive leaps. When you ignore your excitement, you often feel drained, resentful, or stagnant. This is not punishment, it's feedback. It's the field showing you that the frequency you're sustaining is mismatched to your true self. On the other hand, when you lean into what excites you, even slightly, you generate momentum. Momentum builds coherence, and coherence attracts reflections of freedom, support, and opportunities that move you out of toxic loops. Following excitement also dismantles fear. Fear thrives on paralysis, the belief that you must know the outcome before taking a step. Excitement doesn't require the full map. It only asks you to act on what feels alive in the present moment. This willingness to act without certainty is the very thing that cracks open new timelines. The field reorganizes itself around the vibration of your courage, not the details of your plan. You might wonder, what if I can't tell what excites me? Start small. Notice what feels lighter rather than heavier. Notice what you would choose if fear or guilt were not in the way. Notice what your body does when you imagine saying yes or no. Excitement is not always fireworks. It can be a subtle sense of flow, relief, or curiosity. Trust those signals because they are the keys to rewriting your trajectory. Every time you honor your excitement, you declare that your life belongs to alignment, not obligation. And every time you repeat that declaration in action, the toxic cycles weaken. They cannot hold you when you are no longer feeding them. Life is not random. It is a quantum mirror. Every circumstance, every repeated pattern, every toxic cycle is not there to punish you, but to reflect back the frequency you are carrying inside. The relationships that frustrate you, the jobs that leave you drained, the conflicts that seem to circle back again and again, they are all mirrors. They are showing you, with precision, the beliefs and vibrations you are projecting into the field. When you see life this way, the endless repetition makes sense. You are not cursed. You are simply looking into a mirror you have not yet chosen to shift. Imagine standing in front of a physical mirror and frowning. The reflection frowns back, not because it has a choice, but because it is bound to your expression. Life functions in much the same way. The quantum field reflects your vibration, and it does so consistently because that consistency is how you become aware of what you're holding. If you don't like the reflection, the solution isn't to smash the mirror or blame the image. It is to shift what you are radiating, and the reflection will follow. This realization can be confronting. It means acknowledging that recurring toxic patterns are not accidents. They are evidence. They are signals of inner beliefs that have been left unchallenged. If you repeatedly attract people who don't value you, perhaps a part of you has not fully valued yourself. If you constantly find yourself in financial struggle, maybe there's an underlying belief about scarcity or unworthiness that is still resonating in your field. The reflection doesn't lie. It cannot show you what you are not holding. But here's the freedom. Once you recognize the mirror, you can change what you project, and life will adjust accordingly. The first step is awareness. When you catch a toxic cycle repeating, pause and ask, what is this reflecting about me? What belief or vibration is being mirrored here? You don't need to shame yourself for the answer. The mirror isn't condemning you. It's helping you see clearly. Without the mirror, you might continue unconsciously projecting the same energy without ever realizing it. With the mirror, you are given the gift of choice. You can decide to shift. This is why the same situations repeat until you change them. It's not fate, it's feedback. The field will continue reflecting the same image until you adjust what you radiate. Once you do, the cycle dissolves, because the mirror no longer has that frequency to reflect. This is not abstract theory. It is a principle that plays out in every area of life. Now I want to hear from you. Take a moment and look at your own life. Which toxic pattern has shown up again and again, as if it's on repeat? Is it in relationships, finances, self-worth, or health? Comment below with the cycle you've recognized most clearly. Naming it is powerful because it shifts you from unconscious repetition to conscious awareness. Awareness is the crack in the mirror through which new light enters, and from there, your reflection can change. Excitement is a compass, but it isn't always the whole map. There's a subtle difference between excitement that truly resonates with your core frequency and excitement that is simply a disguise for avoidance or distraction. The quantum field does not respond to surface-level impulses. It responds to authentic resonance. This is where integrity comes in. To truly break toxic patterns, your excitement must be aligned with integrity, meaning it is consistent, sustainable, and rooted in who you really are. Think of it this way: excitement without integrity can lead you in circles. It feels like momentum at first, but eventually it collapses because it was never grounded. For example, someone might feel a spark of excitement about chasing validation, about proving themselves to others, about gaining short-term pleasure at the cost of long-term peace. That excitement is not the compass pointing to true alignment. It is a mask covering fear or insecurity. When you act on it, you end up reinforcing the very toxic cycles you were trying to escape. On the other hand, authentic excitement feels expansive but also stable. It doesn't just burn brightly and vanish. It continues to unfold, offering energy rather than draining it. This kind of excitement doesn't require you to abandon your values or compromise your truth. Instead, it aligns with your highest integrity, the version of you that you already sense deep inside. When you follow this resonance, you find that the field reflects new opportunities, new synchronicities, and new realities that sustain you rather than trap you. Integrity is the anchor that prevents you from mistaking avoidance for resonance. For instance, you may feel excited about leaving a situation that is challenging, but if that excitement is really a rush to escape discomfort rather than a genuine pull toward expansion, you may find yourself recreating the same pattern somewhere else. The cycle continues because the root vibration hasn't changed. But if you pause and ask yourself, is this excitement aligned with my integrity? Does it reflect who I want to be, or am I just avoiding what I don't want to face? That question shifts everything. It filters the impulse and helps you see whether it is authentic resonance or disguised desire. Breaking cycles means being willing to check in with yourself. Sometimes the most aligned action doesn't feel like a dramatic rush of excitement, but a quiet sense of peace, a subtle nudge that feels steady and clear. That too is excitement, though softer in form. The quantum field does not care about how loud your excitement is. It cares about how true it is. Authenticity is the frequency that reshapes reality. As you practice this discernment, you'll notice that life mirrors back your integrity. Relationships, opportunities, and experiences that align with your truth will multiply, while those rooted in old patterns will fade. The more you choose integrity-based excitement, the more you step out of cycles and into new frequencies that sustain lasting change. This is the foundation of alignment, and it is how you ensure that your excitement doesn't just spark, but transforms. In the quantum field, the observer effect demonstrates that reality is not fixed until attention interacts with it. Every moment, countless potential outcomes exist, suspended in possibility. But the instant you bring your awareness to one path, it begins to solidify. Your focus acts like a spotlight, collapsing the infinite into the tangible. This is not only a principle of physics, it mirrors how your daily attention sculpts your life. Toxic patterns persist not because they are absolute, but because your observation keeps energizing them. Think of how often the mind revisits what is wrong, what is broken, or what has hurt you. Each time you replay that story, you feed it energy, and in turn, the field mirrors more of it back. This isn't punishment, it's mechanics. The universe does not judge whether your focus is on pain or freedom, it simply amplifies what you observe most consistently. This is why breaking cycles requires a shift in where you place your attention. Instead of endlessly scanning the past for evidence of limits, you begin to direct your observation toward the possibility of change. Directing focus toward freedom doesn't mean pretending toxic patterns never existed. It means choosing not to give them center stage in your consciousness. When you notice yourself slipping into old loops, you can gently redirect. Ask yourself, what is a vision of freedom I would rather energize right now? Even if it feels small at first, like imagining a single moment of peace or a single relationship handled differently, your attention feeds that timeline. With repetition, it grows stronger. This is the practical application of the observer effect in your daily action. Your reality is pliable, and your awareness is the sculptor's hand. Each time you choose to notice synchronicities, moments of clarity, or signs of expansion, you amplify them, and the more you amplify them, the more the field reflects them back to you. Toxic patterns begin to dissolve because they are no longer the dominant object of observation. They wither from lack of attention. It's easy to underestimate how powerful small shifts in focus can be. You don't have to hold a perfect vibration all day. What matters is consistency in returning to the observation of freedom. The more you redirect, the more momentum builds toward alignment. Even a few moments of focused attention each day can alter the trajectory of your experience. This is also why practices like journaling, gratitude, or visualizing are effective. They train your attention to rest on possibilities that support freedom rather than confinement. When you make this a habit, you gradually rewire your relationship with reality itself. The observer effect becomes not an abstract theory, but a lived experience of shifting timelines. So as you hear this, pause for a moment and notice what you are focusing on right now. Are you energizing what you no longer want, or are you feeding the vision of freedom you're ready to embody? Direct your observation toward the latter and watch how the quantum field reorganizes itself around your choice. When a toxic pattern shows up in your life, the instinct is often to fight it, suppress it, or judge yourself for still experiencing it. Yet, paradoxically, that resistance only feeds the very vibration you want to dissolve. The key is not to battle the pattern, but to neutralize it. Neutralization does not mean ignoring what is happening. It means seeing it clearly, acknowledging it without judgment, and then making a conscious choice to shift into a different frequency. This is the pivot point where old cycles lose their grip. Imagine a toxic pattern surfacing like a wave of emotion, a thought spiral, or a familiar trigger. The moment you recognize it, instead of reacting with, "Here it is again, I'll never change," pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself, this is only energy. It has no power except what I give it. In that moment of awareness, you interrupt the automatic momentum. By not identifying with the pattern, you weaken its hold. You move from being inside the storm to observing it from a higher vantage point. Acknowledgement without judgment is crucial because judgment glues the pattern to your identity. When you label yourself as broken, flawed, or incapable, you're feeding the vibration that sustains the toxic cycle. But if you can see the pattern as just an old echo, like a recording that once served a purpose but no longer does, you reclaim authority over it. The energy becomes neutral, ready to be reshaped into something new. Once acknowledged, the second step is to deliberately choose a new vibration. This doesn't require massive leaps into bliss. Sometimes the shift is as simple as choosing relief, calm, or a sense of openness. Ask yourself, what is a frequency I would rather align with right now? It could be peace, gratitude, curiosity, or joy. Even if the toxic emotion is strong, you can hold both. The recognition of what is present and the decision to place more energy into the vibration you want to grow. Over time, that choice compounds. Think of neutralization like changing the channel on a radio. If you leave it tuned to static, the noise persists. But the moment you dial into a different frequency, the static fades, not because you destroyed it, but because you stopped feeding it with attention. Toxic cycles dissolve in the same way. They cannot survive without your energetic investment. This process is simple, but its simplicity is deceptive. The real power comes from practice. Every time you catch a toxic pattern, acknowledge it and pivot to a new frequency. You are training your consciousness to align with freedom instead of repetition. Each repetition of this choice rewires your subconscious, gradually making the toxic pattern irrelevant. Neutralization is liberation. It is the art of stepping out of the old loop without force and without judgment. It is the moment you declare, "I am no longer defined by this vibration." And in that declaration, you break the chain and anchor yourself into a new reality that reflects the vibration you've chosen. Beliefs are not permanent structures etched into your being. They are choices, agreements you made with yourself or inherited from others about what is possible, who you are, and how reality works. Every belief you hold is a lens that filters the quantum field into the version of life you experience. When you accept a belief, you give it authority to shape your vibration. When you release it, you create space for an entirely new reality to emerge. The toxic cycles you feel trapped in are not chains of fate. They are reflections of beliefs you've been unconsciously choosing to carry. The moment you recognize that beliefs are optional, the lock opens. Think about a limiting belief like, "I'm not enough," or "I always attract the wrong people." At first, it may feel like a statement of truth, something proven by past experiences. But look deeper. Those experiences didn't happen in isolation. They were filtered through the vibration of the belief itself. In other words, the belief invited evidence that reinforced itself. This is the loop of toxic cycles. A belief generates a pattern. The pattern confirms the belief, and the cycle repeats. The way to break it is not by waiting for external proof to arrive first, but by withdrawing your agreement with the belief that sustains it. Releasing a limiting belief begins with awareness. You catch the thought as it arises, and instead of taking it as fact, you see it as one option among infinite possibilities. In that pause, you can say, "I no longer choose this belief. I choose something different." The act of choice may feel small, even symbolic, but in the quantum field, that shift of vibration redirects your alignment. New evidence begins to show up not because you forced it, but because you stopped giving energy to the frequency of limitation. The key is consistency. Old beliefs may try to reassert themselves because they are familiar pathways in the mind. But each time you remind yourself that every belief is optional, you weaken their influence. The more you choose empowering beliefs, like, "I am worthy of love," "I attract opportunities aligned with my joy," or "I am free to create new cycles," the more your reality reorganizes to reflect them. The quantum field does not argue with your choice, it responds to your vibration. Imagine beliefs as frequencies on a radio. Limiting beliefs keep you tuned to stations that play static, drama, or repetition. By releasing them, you are not fixing the radio, you're simply turning the dial. When you shift the frequency, you discover a channel that plays the music of the reality you want to live. This is how liberation from toxic cycles becomes practical. Not by fighting the old program, but by changing what you choose to broadcast. And if you want to keep learning practical ways to release these limiting beliefs and rewire your frequency for freedom, remember to subscribe. Each new insight reinforces your ability to choose beliefs that serve you, not trap you. The more you align with that choice, the more undeniable your shift becomes. Your body has always been your most reliable compass, quietly guiding you toward alignment, even when your mind is tangled in stories and doubts. The truth is simple. Energy that feels expansive is a sign of resonance, and energy that feels heavy or draining is a sign of misalignment. You don't need a manual to recognize this. Your body speaks it through sensation, emotion, and intuition. The challenge is not in discovering the compass, but in learning to trust it, especially when your rational mind tries to argue otherwise. Think about moments when you felt lit up with possibility. Perhaps it was an opportunity that made your heart beat faster, a conversation that filled you with clarity, or a decision that felt light despite its uncertainty. That sense of expansion is your frequency compass pointing you toward alignment. Contrast that with experiences where you felt constricted, tension in your chest, a pit in your stomach, or a subtle dread you tried to ignore. That heaviness was your body signaling misalignment, a warning that the frequency of that choice was out of sync with your highest path. The toxic cycles you've experienced in the past often had one thing in common. You overrode your compass. You explained away the heaviness, rationalized the discomfort, or silenced the inner voice that was trying to protect you. The result was repetition of the same draining experiences because you mistook noise for guidance. Breaking those cycles now requires reversing that habit, choosing to let the body's frequency signals lead, even when logic hasn't caught up yet. Trusting your compass is not about chasing comfort or avoiding challenge. Alignment doesn't always feel easy, but it does feel true. Expansion can come with nerves or effort, yet beneath it is a sense of vitality. Misalignment, on the other hand, often cloaks itself in shoulds, obligations, or fear of disapproval. When you step back and tune in, the difference is unmistakable. One gives life, the other takes it. Practical trust begins with awareness. Throughout your day, pause to ask, does this feel expansive or contracting? You'll notice subtle cues. Your breath deepens when something resonates, or your muscles tighten when it doesn't. These signals are not random. They are the body's way of translating frequency into language you can act upon. Over time, the more you honor these cues, the clearer and more immediate they become. Imagine living each day guided by this compass. You would say yes to what lights you up and no to what dims you, not out of rebellion, but out of recognition that your frequency is the foundation of your reality. Each choice becomes an act of alignment, each step a recalibration toward freedom. The toxic cycles that once seemed unbreakable lose their grip because you stop feeding them with your energy. Your body knows, your energy knows. Trust the compass within you, and you will always be steered back to the frequency that reflects your true self. In that trust, alignment becomes natural, and breaking cycles becomes inevitable. When you begin aligning with a new frequency, life starts leaving you breadcrumbs, small but undeniable signals that you are shifting. These synchronicities are not coincidences. They are quantum feedback, reflections of your vibration stabilizing into a new pattern. Seeing repeating numbers on a clock, hearing a song at the exact moment you need its message, or running into someone who delivers the answer you were quietly seeking are all reminders that the field is listening and responding. They are confirmations that you are unraveling toxic timelines and weaving a new one. In the past, toxic cycles might have felt like endless loops. Same situations, same people, same lessons repeating with different faces. That repetition was also feedback, showing you what frequency you were carrying. The difference now is that your energy is shifting, and the feedback mirrors that change. Instead of chaos, you start to notice harmony. Instead of dead ends, you find open doors. The external world is organizing itself around your internal realignment. Synchronicities carry two main functions. They confirm and they guide. Confirmation is when you notice the universe reflecting your thoughts, intentions, or desires back to you. It's as if reality is saying, yes, keep going, you're on the right track. Guidance is when synchronicities nudge you toward opportunities, connections, or decisions that accelerate your shift. Both roles reveal the quantum principle that life is not random. It's responsive. What makes synchronicities powerful is not their appearance, but your recognition of them. The more you acknowledge them, the more they multiply. It's like tuning a radio station. The clearer the signal you send, the stronger the reception you receive. This is why awareness matters. Ignoring synchronicities dulls the feedback loop, while celebrating them strengthens it. You are in dialogue with the field, and every moment of recognition deepens the conversation. Some may dismiss signs as psychological tricks, but even from that perspective, they serve an important role. If your subconscious filters reality to highlight meaningful alignments, then synchronicities still confirm that your inner world is focusing in a new direction. Whether you see them as metaphysical proof or psychological reinforcement, the result is the same. They affirm your momentum and help you trust the path. Synchronicities also mark the dissolution of toxic timelines. When the old cycles begin to lose their grip, space opens for new patterns to emerge. The uncanny alignments you notice are like sparks of a fresh script being written. They show that your energy is no longer bound by the weight of repetition, but is instead weaving a freer, more aligned story. Pay attention to what keeps showing up. Numbers, words, symbols, even random conversations, all carry messages. Ask yourself, what is this reflecting about my current state? What is it inviting me to step into? This simple inquiry transforms synchronicities from passive curiosities into active tools for navigation. The feedback is here. The signs are clear. The quantum field is showing you that your shift is real, your frequency is stabilizing, and the toxic cycles are unraveling. All you need to do is notice, trust, and keep aligning. Toxic cycles rarely survive on the surface alone. They are fueled by what lingers in the shadows, those parts of you that carry fear, shame, or doubt. These shadows are not enemies, but fragments of your being that have been pushed away, unacknowledged, or judged. As long as they remain hidden, they continue to generate repetition, pulling you into the same loops again and again. Integration is the act of bringing them into the light, not to fight them, but to embrace them as teachers and signals. When you do, the energy that once fueled repetition transforms into freedom. Shadows often arise in moments of vulnerability. Perhaps it's the voice that whispers you are not enough, the tightness in your chest that emerges when you try to expand, or the fear of rejection that keeps you playing small. These shadows don't appear to punish you. They show up to remind you where love and awareness still need to flow. Ignoring them only strengthens their grip. Meeting them with compassion dissolves their hold. Integration begins with acknowledgement. Instead of resisting or suppressing the shadow, you pause and recognize it. Naming the fear, identifying the shame, or admitting the doubt strips it of secrecy. The quantum field mirrors what you embody, and when you embody honesty rather than denial, you step into alignment. Toxic cycles lose momentum because the hidden fuel they rely on has been exposed. The second step is acceptance. This doesn't mean you agree with the shadow's narrative. It means you allow its presence without judgment. Imagine saying to the fear, "I see you. I understand why you're here." That recognition softens its edges. Acceptance is an energetic embrace, and in that embrace, the shadow no longer needs to fight for attention. It relaxes, and its intensity lessens. From there, integration transforms the shadow into light. Fear can become clarity about what you truly value. Shame can become compassion for yourself and others. Doubt can become humility that keeps you open to learning. Every shadow carries a seed of wisdom, and when you allow it into the light of awareness, the seed grows into strength. Toxic cycles that were once fueled by these shadows dissolve because their energy is no longer recycled through avoidance. Integration also raises your frequency. Resistance is heavy. It drags you down and makes expansion harder. Embracing all parts of yourself lightens your energy, and the quantum field responds. Life begins to reflect harmony instead of conflict, alignment instead of struggle. You realize that the patterns were never external punishments. They were mirrors of what you had not yet integrated. As you reclaim your shadows, you reclaim your power. Every shadow you face and embrace becomes an ally in your journey. Instead of fearing the next cycle, you begin to trust that even if shadows arise, you have the tools to meet them with love. And with that, repetition ends because there is no longer a hidden force demanding it. You are whole, and wholeness dissolves the need for toxic loops. Change only becomes permanent when it is chosen again and again, not just in silence, but in word and action. Commitment is the bridge between intention and reality. When you declare your alignment, when you voice your decision to break toxic cycles and step into the quantum frequency of freedom, you anchor it into the field with greater power. Words carry vibration. Writing your commitment, speaking it out loud, or sharing it publicly creates resonance that reinforces your chosen timeline. Think of how contracts work in the physical world. A signature isn't just ink on paper. It's an energetic declaration that binds the parties involved. In the same way, your spoken or written commitment to the shift is a signature with the quantum field. It is you saying, "This is who I am now. This is the frequency I stand in." That signature aligns your energy with the reality you have chosen, and the field responds by mirroring it. Many people stop at hope. They think about change, wish for it, or visualize it. But without commitment, the vibration wavers. Commitment is the difference between dipping your toe in and diving fully into the water. The moment you commit, you stop asking if it will work and start embodying the truth that it already is. That steadiness is what allows the toxic cycle to dissolve, because the field cannot argue with unwavering resonance. Commitment is also a form of self-trust. By declaring your path, you prove to yourself that you are not waiting for outside validation. You are choosing to be your own authority, your own guide. This shift in self-identity is what sustains alignment when shadows or doubts arise. Instead of slipping back into the old cycle, you remember, "I committed, I chose, I stand here." That reminder becomes a stabilizer. It doesn't matter how small or large the declaration is. Whispering to yourself before bed, writing it in your journal, or leaving a comment that says, "I commit to breaking this cycle," all carry power. Each form of expression strengthens the imprint. The act of saying it out loud or sharing it outwardly adds momentum because it is energy leaving your inner world and entering the collective field. That ripple reinforces your own vibration and also inspires others to step into theirs. Commitment doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you will never feel fear, doubt, or temptation again. It means that even when those things arise, you remember where you stand. You return to your declaration and realign. The strength of commitment is not in never wavering. It is in always coming back to the chosen frequency, no matter what. If you are ready, this is your moment. Declare it, speak it, write it, anchor it into reality. And if you feel called, comment your commitment here. By voicing it, you are not only aligning yourself, you are also contributing to the collective energy of others, breaking their toxic patterns. Your declaration matters because it is the sound of the old cycle ending and the new one beginning. High frequency is not sustained by grand gestures once in a while, but by the small, steady choices you make every day. Toxic cycles weaken when you consistently choose alignment because repetition stabilizes vibration. Gratitude is one of the simplest, yet most potent anchors. When you focus on what you appreciate, even in small details, you are telling the quantum field that you are already abundant, already complete. That signal attracts more experiences that match it, and it simultaneously deprives toxic patterns of the energy they need to loop. A morning practice of naming 3 things you are grateful for may seem simple, but over time it rewires the nervous system to expect expansion instead of contraction. Presence is another sustaining habit. Toxic cycles feed on unconscious behavior, on reacting automatically to triggers. When you bring awareness into the moment, pausing before responding, noticing your breath, choosing consciously, you step out of autopilot and into alignment. Presence interrupts the chain reaction that keeps old timelines alive. Even one mindful breath before answering a stressful email or engaging in a tense conversation can shift the entire trajectory of that moment. The more often you choose presence, the stronger the muscle becomes until it is your default way of living. Integrity weaves everything together. Acting in integrity means aligning your words, actions, and intentions with the frequency you want to embody. When you speak one thing but do another, or when you compromise your values for temporary comfort, your vibration scatters. Integrity creates coherence, and coherence is what stabilizes your chosen frequency. Every small decision is an opportunity to align or misalign, saying no when you mean no, keeping promises to yourself, and choosing honesty even when it's uncomfortable. All of these reinforce the field's recognition that you are serious about sustaining your shift. Habits work like signals. Each time you act with gratitude, presence, and integrity, you are broadcasting a consistent message into the field. This is who I am now. The quantum responds not to isolated moments of inspiration, but to the steady rhythm of embodiment. That is why daily habits matter so deeply. They are proof of consistency, and consistency stabilizes timelines. It's also important to notice that sustaining high frequency does not mean never facing challenges or feeling low energy. It means that when those moments arise, you have tools to return to alignment more quickly. Gratitude reminds you that even in difficulty, something is supporting you. Presence brings you back from fear of the past or future into the power of now. Integrity guides you to act in a way that honors your highest self, even when tested. These practices ensure that toxic cycles cannot regain power, because they thrive only in unconsciousness and misalignment. Every habit, no matter how small, is a vote for the reality you are creating. When you consistently choose high-frequency actions, you are not just breaking old cycles, you are building a new baseline of being. Over time, this baseline becomes unshakable, and toxic patterns lose their grip entirely. This is the moment everything has been leading toward, the full technique to dissolve toxic cycles and align with the frequency of freedom. As promised in Chapter 1, you are not just learning ideas. You are being given a practical, guided process that allows you to feel the shift in real time. This technique is simple, but it works because it integrates every principle you've absorbed up to now: breath, visualization, emotional release, and conscious choice. Together, they form a sequence that tells the quantum field you are no longer available for repetition. You are choosing alignment. Begin with the breath. Sit or lie down comfortably and place one hand on your heart. Breathe in slowly for a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 6. The longer exhale tells your body it is safe, and safety is the foundation of real change. Do this for 3 cycles, letting your shoulders drop and your nervous system calm. Breath is your anchor. It signals to your body that you are ready to release. Now bring to mind the toxic cycle you are ready to dissolve. See it clearly, the repeating pattern, the emotions tied to it, the situations that keep arising. Don't shy away. Let yourself feel it fully. As you breathe, imagine that with each inhale, you are pulling this cycle out of hiding, and with each exhale, you are releasing its grip. Visualize it as a dark, heavy energy leaving your body with every breath out. Next, shift into visualization of the reality you choose instead. Picture yourself free of the cycle, living in alignment with the highest frequency of who you are. Notice the details. How do you feel in your body? Who surrounds you? What choices flow easily for you now that this cycle no longer defines you? Make the vision as vivid as possible. The quantum responds to clarity, so paint the image with all the colors of your imagination. Now comes the emotional release. Allow yourself to feel the emotions that arise as you step into this new vision. Maybe it's relief, maybe joy, maybe a deep calm. Let those emotions fill your body until they become stronger than the old energy you just released. If tears come, let them. If laughter arises, welcome it. This is your body rewiring itself, anchoring the frequency of freedom. Finally, make the conscious choice. Speak out loud or silently in your heart. I release the old cycle. I align with freedom. I choose this new reality now. Say it 3 times, each time with more certainty. The act of declaring it transforms it from wishful thinking into a chosen frequency. Stay in this state for a few more breaths, allowing the integration to settle. Know that by completing this technique, you are sending a clear message into the field. The cycle is done, and a new chapter has begun. This is the reward you were promised. The power to realign your frequency and dissolve toxic cycles once and for all.